Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
Good Tuesday morning to you at 6:06. We just had an update on the weather, by the way, if you're concerned. If you're out past Frederick and other areas, western or northern of Washington, D.C., you might be seeing some wintry mix coming in. As you get closer to D.C., it'll just turn to cold rain, and it looks like the D.C. area proper, like right in the concentrated area around D.C., is just going to get some cold rain. And we're not going to get any white stuff sticking, it appears. But the commute's going to be nasty, so stick with us all morning long as we help Sherpa your way through the issues. Sherpa your way through. Is that a verb? Can we make Sherpa a verb?
Let's
we can
go
do that.
with it.
Coming up at 7:05, Cully Stimson, who is an expert on military justice and illegal and legal orders. 7:35, Dr. Mark Siegel on President Trump's MRI results, which we're about to get to right now. And then at 8:35, Kurt Schlichter. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
There has been hysteria, as typical, in the TDS-fueled media circles and Democrat Party circles about President Trump's health.
Just
Julie,
unbelievable.
Yeah, we have grave concerns amongst members of the D.C. press corps about whether President Donald J. Trump is healthy and fit to serve. Wait a second. What am I missing here? Did they know Joe Biden was president for 4 years?
Right.
And there have been write-ups, there have been articles about how his schedule has slowed, about how this is just like
they've moved on.
Compared to what?
This is the new Epstein files, right? They need a mantra. They need something to hammer. Yeah.
When Trump went after Minnesota Governor Tim Walz on Thanksgiving about the corruption in his state and then all of the issues that he's dealing with, and Tim Walz's reply on X was, "Release the MRI results."
Right.
This has been the big conspiracy theory that President Trump a couple of weeks ago went to Walter Reed for an MRI. The facility at the White House for medical attention for the president, as you can imagine, is pretty extensive. But there's not an MRI machine there. And at some point his doctor decided, what is he, 79, 80 at this point?
Yeah.
The doctor said, hey, we should probably get an MRI. Let's check things out. Which doctors do. Now, if you're in Canada, if you're the Prime Minister of Canada, that means a year and a half from now you get the MRI because they have socialized medicine. You know, the stuff that Bernie Sanders and AOC and Zohran Mamdani want to cram down your throat. But here in America, doctor says get an MRI, you pick up the phone, you get an MRI, and it goes even faster if you're the president. So they went to Walter Reed, they got the MRI. And that was like, I want to say it was 4 weeks ago, and they've been going nuts. Where are the results of the MRI? Where are the results of the MRI? Why don't you announce the results of the MRI? Was there any attention paid to Joe Biden and his health ever at any given moment?
None. No, well, actually, there was. They made excuses for him.
Yes.
They criticized, and they tried to cancel people, deplatform people, and suggest that they were agents of misinformation. So they gave attention to it to defend him.
So here was Caroline Leavitt yesterday, the long-awaited results of the MRI of President Donald J. Trump.
As part of this is a summary from the president's physician, and we will release it right now. I think my team has it teed up for all of you. I'll read it for you, and then you'll get it physically as well. As part of President Trump's comprehensive executive physical, advanced imaging was performed because men in his age group benefit from a thorough evaluation of cardiovascular and abdominal health. The purpose of this imaging is preventative, to identify any issues early, confirm overall health, and ensure the president maintains long-term vitality and function. President Trump's cardiovascular imaging was perfectly normal.
What? How dare you? This is the cover-up to the level of Watergate.
Yeah.
It's not the crime, it's the cover-up in these things. I'm smelling
right.
Impeachment right now. This is what Hakeem Jeffries is going to run on. There's no way that his cardiovascular imaging was perfectly normal. All right, well, what about the arteries? Was there any arterial narrowing?
No evidence of arterial narrowing.
What? The lies. Look at the cover-up is happening right before our eyes.
Right before our eyes, Larry.
So you're telling me that his blood flow was normal?
Carrying blood flow or abnormalities in the heart or major vessels.
All right, fine. But you know what they're really covering up, Julie? Did you notice that they didn't say anything about his heart chambers and about the size of the heart chambers. Did you notice that? That's the cover-up. That's what's happening here.
There we go.
The heart chambers are normal in size. The vessel walls appear smooth and healthy.
All right. Well, what about clotting? Clotting! They didn't mention the clotting.
Here we go.
This is where the cover. So they don't have any mention of clotting at any point in this entire report. That it's not what they report to you, Julie. It's what they don't report.
That's right.
That's where the real story is.
That's right.
What about the clotting?
And there are no signs of inflammation or clotting.
Damn it. All right. What about Brigitte Macron? Is she really a dude?
Yeah. There we go.
Do they have that in the report?
There we go.
All right. All right. Fine. Next, you're going to say that his cardiovascular health is overall excellent.
Overall, his cardiovascular system shows excellent health.
Okay. So, but here, this is all a deflection. It's like, oh, sure, his heart is fine. Of course it is. He's the devil. The devil has a fine pounding heart. You know who else had great cardiovascular health? Hitler. That's who.
That's right. Just more signs that he's just like Hitler.
There you go. But what about, you know what they're not telling you about is his colon. We want to know about Trump's colon, and they're covering that up.
His abdominal imaging is also perfectly normal. All major organs appear very healthy and well perfused. Everything evaluated is functioning within normal limits with no acute or chronic concerns. In summary, this level of detailed assessment is standard for an executive physical at President Trump's age and confirms that he remains in excellent overall health.
Okay, yeah, but Pete Hegseth ordered a second strike on that boat. That's not in your little MRI result, is it? No, it's not. Damn it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they're going to have to move on to something else.
Boy, he really is in good health.
That really is. I would die for an MRI result like that right now. Trust me, my colon is not pretty.
Okay, that's enough.
You don't want to know. I used to live in L.A. It's just part of the story there. Tim Walz, on the other hand, let's not forget, this is how insane they've been about this stupid MRI. Here's cut 12. This was Tim Walz when confronted on Meet the Press.
A major scandal in his state.
There's a major scandal in his state.
And Meet the Press is like, you know what? We're going to let you pivot.
And by the way, he looks like a 97-year-old man.
Oh, absolutely.
And I believe he's, what is he, 35 or something? I'm not, well, okay, I might be understating it a little bit.
He's like the 80s, you know, when you look at the pictures of the Golden Girls and then you find out they were like 27 when they did that. And you're like, wait, what? Wilfred Brimley and Cocoon is the same age as Tom Cruise, you know, and you're like, what?
Younger than Tom
actually,
Cruise.
Yeah, actually, you know, Tim Walz actually, you know, he is younger, but he's like the Golden Girls.
I believe that Tom Cruise is older than Tim Walz. I believe that is the fact.
Yes, I think you're right.
I think Tim Walz is like the same age as George Clooney or something, although he's not looking that good these days.
It's true.
So here was Tim Walz when confronted with the growing scandal in his state. Cut 12.
As your viewers out there are listening, has anyone in the history of the world ever have an MRI assigned to them and have no idea what it was for, as he says? So, look, it's clear the president's fading physically. I think the mental capacity, again, ranting,
there you know. And, of course, no pushback from Kristen Welker. No pushback. I have no doubt that Trump was told by his doctors, you need to go get an MRI. All right, fine. He goes to get an MRI. Hey, what was the MRI for? I don't know. They told me to get an MRI. Can we get to the important business now that we're here for? No doubt at all. Meanwhile, here's the best part. Megan Hayes, who is a Democrat consultant and political communications expert, she took to X yesterday, the former Twitter platform, and put out a series of photographs and videos of these. This is what's all over Blue Sky and MS Now at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Is they have these close-up pictures of Trump's wrists and ankles. Cool. They have these damning photographs and videos. I guess they're trying to say, see, this is what they did to Biden. Yeah, but with Biden, it was real, right? Yeah. I mean, with Biden, it was obvious. You didn't have to, go through this, microscopic examination.
Right, exactly.
Megan Hayes put out this whole thing on X saying it's an undeniable fact. Undeniable fact, Donald Trump is aging rapidly. It should concern us all. Who's Megan Hayes? Megan Hayes is the White House staffer who dressed up like Mrs. Easter Bunny and deflected Joe Biden from wandering into the crowd of reporters at the egg roll hunt.
Yeah.
She's the one.
She was part of the cover-up.
She was
She was part of the Biden cognitive decline cover-up. And now she is going to be, give us her assessment of Trump after she covered up years of cognitive.
To be fair, she is literally an expert in covering up a president's failing health. So if anyone's going to know how to do it, she's the one. Coming up, we'll have Dr. Mark Siegel at 7:35 to talk about these results and the president's health. Right now, it's 6:16.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
We continue to cover the story, of course, of the refugee crisis in this country. And when I say refugee crisis, I mean the refugees that were allowed to come into this country, in many respects completely unvetted or inadequately vetted, let's just say, either from Afghanistan or from Somalia or from Haiti or from other nations. A huge number of the people who were allowed into this country under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's parole scheme, where Alejandro Mayorkas, the former DHS secretary, basically opened up the floodgates, allowed everyone. The one way to solve illegal immigration is to just make everybody temporarily legal. There, see? We got no illegal immigration problem.
Yep.
No, we still have people flooding into the country from places like Haiti and Venezuela and Honduras and Guatemala and from Afghanistan and from, of course, Somalia. That goes back to the Clinton era, I believe, but the continued. And now we're learning that they get here, they get their temporary refugee status, they get their temporary asylum, they stay for decades, and then in the case of Minnesota, they end up creating corrupt political machines that work with the Democrat Party to steal taxpayer money through health services in the state of Minnesota, funnel some of that money back to Democrat politicians, and then funnel some of the money back to terrorist organizations in Somalia. It's a great plan. And then in the case of Afghanistan, they end up getting radicalized either here or they were already radicalized and insufficiently vetted when they came here, and they end up killing National Guardsmen in Washington, D.C. That's the plan that the Democrats have put in place.
Yeah, they seem to be not in any way bothered by the idea of an immigrant coming here, and then because they're escaping corruption, they're escaping violence, they're escaping all sorts of things that make their countries a failed state. And those people come here and they recreate that in the communities here in America. And we as the American public are not supposed to be bothered by this. I am really bothered when an immigrant comes here and creates an absolute disaster like in Tim Walz, Minnesota. And Tim Walz just is, and look, the evidence, it looks like he knew about this. And he was fine with it. And why? We talked about this yesterday. It is this circle. It is the money, the corruption, then the money goes back to Democrats.
Right.
So why would they object?
It's like the snake eating its own tail. That's what it looks like. It's the circle of life in Democrat politics. Donald Trump Jr. cited a paragraph from a New York Times column covering immigration. This is a story from earlier in the year. But it perfectly summarizes and encapsulates how the media is covering these issues. Listen to this paragraph and recognize the Orwellian pretzel you have to twist yourself in to walk away saying, yes, that's really good, sound policy. Mr. Biden allowed many migrants to enter the country temporarily as a way to incentivize them to avoid crossing the border illegally. Did you hear the way that they framed this? I framed it properly, which is you've got a flood of illegal immigrants. It makes you look bad politically. So what do you do to solve the problem politically? Well, you just make them legal. Now suddenly you don't have an illegal immigrant problem. The way the New York Times framed it was Mr. Biden allowed many migrants to enter the country temporarily as a way to incentivize them to avoid crossing the border illegally. Hey, we don't want you crossing the border illegally. So we're just going to make you legal and we'll bring you in ourselves. In many cases, they actually flew them in from Venezuela. They flew the murderers and drug dealers in.
That word temporarily is such a lie.
Oh, yeah. The word temporarily is doing a lot of work in this sentence right here.
Yep.
Those people became eligible to work in the United States, receive Social Security numbers, and in some cases, receive federal benefits. Wait a second. We were told that no federal benefits were going to people who come into this country illegally.
Right.
But see, of course, when you make them legal with a stroke of the pen, but it's a funny thing. about the stroke of that pen. When a new president comes in, they can use their own pen to stroke it the other way, as it were. And that's exactly what Trump has done. And now we're supposed to have our hearts bleeding because Biden went out of his way to make an illegal immigrant a legal immigrant. And now Trump is putting them back in their proper status and sending them home. But that is a great example, and kudos to Trump Jr. for pointing that paragraph out and showing us exactly how the news is being reported in other platforms. It's 6:23.
Coming up, we'll talk more about that boat strike controversy, made-up controversy. Keep it here at 6:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
37 here this Tuesday morning. Thanks for joining us. Second day of December. It's a harrowing drive in for many of you, and we'll keep you updated every 10 minutes on the fives with Jamie Whitten so that you don't hit any pitfalls. Coming up at 7:05, Cully Stimson will join us, an expert in military justice. He's a JAG officer, retired from the Navy. He knows a thing or two about what Mark Kelly is trying to do here. 7:35, Dr. Mark Siegel on Trump's MRI results. And then at 8:35, Kurt Schlichter. He, of course, a veteran of the National Guard. He has some thoughts about the loss of our guardsmen here in D.C., and also about the attacks on the military. We're going to get into some details here on that as well right now. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Are you ready, Julie? Why are you dressed in military fatigues today, by the way? I meant to ask you.
I am ready.
You're ready. Yes, well, you should be. So, there's lots of focus, of course, on this strike that SEAL Team 6 executed beautifully and brilliantly. And as typical, Democrats and the media are undermining our military and now second-guessing, micromanaging, Monday morning quarterbacking decisions that are made. And, boy, when has that ever failed in our past? It's always a good idea to come back and scrutinize it. Although it's funny the way the scrutiny goes of the military. There wasn't much scrutiny over the Biden administration's call for a drone strike against an innocent family in Afghanistan to deflect from the debacle of the Abbey Gate terrorist attack. That took independent media to research and follow up on and figure. And by the way, I don't think anyone from the military. Yeah.
Even when independent media did reveal what happened, the sort of corporate media didn't pick up on it. They didn't care.
And remind me again, who got fired from the Pentagon from the Biden cabinet or from the military? Who got called out? Who was screaming for resignations from the Secretary of Defense after that drone strike that killed an innocent Afghanistan family? No, nobody, not one person. But of course, everybody. I've been hearing that. I realized it's December 2nd. 1 year ago this week, if you go back and pull up the archives of our program from 1 year ago this week, we will be reporting on Washington, D.C. insiders, anonymous sources from the Pentagon, Republicans and conservatives who were gravely concerned about Pete Hegseth, who were saying, oh, he's not going to make it till Christmas. He's going to have to withdraw his name from consideration. Oh, he's not going to make it out of committee. Oh, well, okay, sure, he made it out of committee. He's not going to make it to a floor vote. Remember all the people who said that Hegseth wouldn't even make it to a vote to be Secretary of Defense, and now the same people are telling you, oh, well, Trump's going to fire him. He's got to fire him. He won't make it till Christmas now this year. And it all stems from this story that the Washington Post reported, that CNN reported, Natasha Bertrand with her anonymous sources, that said Pete Hegseth ordered a second strike on the Venezuelan boat and said, murder them all, kill them all. I don't care if one person survives. Now, let's just be clear here. We have special forces, and they do things that you might not like to know about, but oftentimes members of SEAL Team or Delta, I don't think they call themselves Delta anymore. I think it's CAG or MARSOC from the Marines, whatever the Special Forces unit is from the military. They're told to carry out a mission, and oftentimes that mission involves killing everybody on a boat or killing everybody in a house or killing everybody in a bunker or just killing everybody. That's their job. They're warriors. And the people who were ordered to be killed in this case were narco terrorists from Venezuela. We know who they are. We know what they've been doing. And we know why they're motoring across the Caribbean in a speedboat leaving Venezuela at 2 in the morning.
It's fishing.
Out on looking for some marlin. So the original report, as has been repeated for several days now, was that 2 people had survived, and they painted it like they were floating, on wreckage, as if they were Leonardo DiCaprio at the final scenes of Titanic, begging to climb up onto the door.
Yeah.
And then Hegseth says, no, kill them all. Kill them all. Send them back in. Murder everyone. I want blood in the water. So now the New York Times, late last night, came out with a report that actually seems to hold true. And there are 5 sources that have confirmed this story to the New York Times that seems to hold true to what the White House has been saying from the beginning and what Hegseth has been saying from the beginning. And that is there was an order for the missile strike and then follow-up strikes to destroy whatever remained. And why do you do that? Number one, first of all, this is a drug boat. And they're not stupid. They put little flotation devices around the giant packages of millions of dollars of cocaine or fentanyl or whatever it is they're bringing into this country. They know that something can happen, and they don't want to lose their cargo. So they have flotation devices around them. And the narco-terrorists know that if something happens to the boat, they can always come back a day or 2 later, and they can pick up their product. And the military was ordered, no, destroy everything. We don't want this stuff falling into somebody's hands. We want it on the bottom of the sea. Right. Let the sharks get stoned. All right, so that's number one. Number two, if any of these people survive the initial hit, they're still a threat to this country. They're terrorists. We don't want the bad guys coming to get them. We want you to kill them. So that's what happened. The New York Times has now confirmed that story.
Yes.
Which should put an end to this, but it won't. Listen to the exchange yesterday with Caroline Levitt as she basically read out this exact same narrative, and listen to the back and forth. Cut 13.
Secretary Hegseth had denied that second strike, that reported second strike on an alleged drug boat on September 2nd. The secretary said to the president that didn't happen. But to clarify, I just wanted you to clear this up. In his social media post, Secretary Hegseth didn't go into details about that strike. He just said U.S. operations in the area were lawful, and he said that the story and media reports were fabricated. So to be clear, does the administration deny that second strike happened, or did it happen and the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order?
The latter is true, Abe, and I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. And I would just add one more point to remind the American public why these lethal strikes are taking place. Because this administration has designated these narco-terrorists as foreign terrorist organizations. The president has a right to take them out if they are threatening the United States of America and if they are bringing illegal narcotics that are killing our citizens at a record rate, which is what they are doing. And under the previous administration, there was enough fentanyl trafficked into our country to kill every American man, woman, and child many times over.
Now, that's pretty clear, isn't it? That is 100% solid, that there's no ambiguity, right? Oh, you'd be wrong. You'd have to be a White House correspondent to then have to be an idiot and push back. So in a minute, you're going to hear more of this exchange. And I want to tell you a couple of things about Admiral Frank Bradley as well, the man now at the center of this story. We'll get to that coming up in just a moment.
WMAL's Vince Colonnese, weekdays at noon on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
So Caroline Levitt detailed exactly what happened in this boat strike, which, again, the strike itself, nobody is contending is a legal act from the commander-in-chief. He can determine which organizations are terrorist organizations. He can determine whether there should be a military strike. And by the way, if Mark Kelly or Alyssa Slotkin or Dick Durbin or any of these other, Jasmine Crockett, want to call that into question, guess what? They don't need to put out a 60-second ad undermining the military and undermining the chain of command. They can have a hearing. They can conduct their own investigations. They're literally members of Congress.
Yep.
That's why they put out an ad instead of actually doing a formal hearing. That's why they do media appearances and instead of actually calling some level of oversight on the military, because they know they're on the wrong side of the story. This is all about raising money and raising political capital. And so Caroline Leavitt just details this story. And by the way, the question that was posed. Can we go back to cut 14 real fast? I'm sorry. I'm going to spend so much time breaking this down. And we've got Carly Stimson and Kurt Schlichter joining us later. But just listen to the way the reporter asked the question on cut 14, the first one.
So much of the concern from the Democrats.
Stop there. I meant cut 13. Listen.
Secretary Hegseth had denied that second strike, that reported second strike on an alleged drug vote on September 2nd. The secretary said to the president that didn't happen. But to clarify, I just want to...
Stop. That's not true. So this is what reporters do. They have a story out there that's partially true, partially fake, and then they run with and extrapolate the fake part of it. Yep. And then they claim that Hegseth is denying the story, but it's a fake denial. And then the question ends up being to Caroline Leavitt, so what exactly are you denying? Be clear on what the denial is. And it's like there's no denial of anything. Right? So Hegseth never said the second strike didn't happen. Hegseth said they reported that I called for a second strike, that I ordered a second strike. Like the Secretary of Defense is sitting there on the phone with SEAL Team 6 saying, all right, now pull out that gun. Okay, and now fire that missile.
Right.
And I was like, that's not how it works.
Right.
And so the reporter says, Hegseth denied that the second strike ever happened. No, that's not true either.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so then Leavitt lays out the whole story, which now has been confirmed by the New York Times and anonymous sources and everything. Now listen to how the reporter follows up. Cut 14.
So much of the concern from Democrats and Republicans is focused on the survivors. Why won't the administration either confirm or deny or reveal whether or not there were survivors after that initial first strike? And what imminent threat would two survivors pose who were clinging presumably to the wreckage of that boat?
Again, as I said, I think you guys are sort of not listening fully to the statement I've provided. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was totally destroyed and the threat to the narco-terrorists, to the United States, was eliminated. And for any further questions about his thinking, I would defer you to the Department of War. I obviously wasn't in the room for these.
Again,
I can't get over the clinging to the wreckage. I mean,
yes.
Half of these reporters think it's Jack and Rose clinging to the door.
That's what they're playing Celine Dion in the background, and they want the snuff film. Why won't you release the video?
Yes.
We want to see the blood in the water. We want the snuff film. These are disgusting, despicable ghouls, and they do anything that they can to undermine the President of the United States, the chain of command, and the military. And one other thing here, because now they're going to turn their sights on this Admiral Mitch Bradley.
Yes.
Admiral Bradley graduated from the Naval Academy in 1991, and he immediately applied for the SEALs. He went right into BUDS and passed within a year and became a SEAL. And he was first assigned, I believe it was to SEAL Team 4 and then SEAL Team 2, but he made his way into SEAL Team 6. After the attacks of 9/11, we talk about boots on the ground. It was his boots that were on the ground. Yeah. In fact, I'm reading between the lines when I look at his bio. I'm pretty sure that Admiral Bradley's boots were on the ground in Afghanistan before anybody knew that we were sending boots on the ground to Afghanistan. That's how SEAL Team 6 operated during the War on Terror. This is the guy you want running special operations in the Navy, and now they're going to turn their sights on him, and they're going to try to destroy him and try to destroy his career. And Admiral Bradley, if you or any of your staff are listening, we've got your back here, Admiral. And there's going to be a lot of voices in this town, a lot of people in the media and a lot of Democrats who are going to want you to be on their side. And they're going to say they're going to make it a lot easier for you if you just, you just got to turn on Trump. That's all it takes. But I know, Admiral Bradley, based on your resume, based on your life, based on what you learned at the Naval Academy, that's not the kind of thing that you will do. You did your duty. You did your job. You defended this nation. And people might not like what SEAL Team 6 has to do sometimes to defend our country, but that's not your business, Admiral Bradley. You got this, and we got you. It's 6:54.